Hey guys, it's Jenna and Harvey. In today's video, we're going to be doing a lot of Sephora reviews. I have a lot of speed reviews here on some new makeup, including the new Huda Beauty palette. We have some updates from my Sephora haul as well, and we have the new Christian Dior lipsticks to talk about, the so-called transfer-proof ones. I did put them to the test, so I'll let you know my thoughts. And then we have some fails in here as well that I figured I should let you guys know about, just to warn you when you're shopping next at Sephora. So let's get started. So now that Harvey is now underneath my desk again, just having a nap, let's get into the products. The first one I want to talk about is actually the new Huda Beauty palette. This is the Lovefest palette. And the first thing I thought of when I saw this palette, well, I mean, the cute packaging is really adorable. It does have the same theme as the other 9-pan Obsession palettes. It's got that vinyl casing on the top there, you can see kind of a cool little graphic as you're, shining it through the light. It's super beautiful. But when you actually open it up, it has a little bit, kind of reminds me a tad of the Wild Chameleon palette, just a little bit, given that it's kind of like similar orangey colors, pinks, purples. It's not identical when it comes to a duplication, but it has a little bit of some similar vibes. Now, this is a very consistent palette. I will say right off the top, when I was testing this one, it is consistent. So if you like the Huda Beauty matte formulation, if you like the shimmers, if you like just kind of these 9-pan palettes in general, I think you're really gonna like this one. But keep in mind, if you have a lot of them already, there might be some similar shades that you have. So the two most important shades I would say in here are definitely the glitters. These two right here, they don't have names. I'm just looking at the back. Are there any names in this? No, but I'm sure there's a legend somewhere on her website. I didn't see it. It's probably the outside packaging that I accidentally threw out, but these two shimmers are beautiful. Now, when I show you the swatches, you'll see what I mean. They're super stunning. I do think that the consistency from matte to shimmer is really, really beautiful. Expect a little bit of fallout with this formulation, not a ton. Not like ABH or some crazy fallout formulations, but a little bit. There's also this really cool kind of cream to powder formulation at the top here. It's a very beautiful purple color. I did find when I applied it with a fingertip, it didn't translate actually as nicely as a brush application did for this shade, which was really surprising. I usually rely on my fingertips for a really seamless application, especially when I want some pigment forward kind of quality happening. But because of the creaminess of this one, it's not quite a cream shadow, but it's sort of like a creamy powdery texture. Really, really neat. Kind of like a hybrid color. And you can see this is the swatch by itself. It's really lightweight and has a kind of a silky element to it, but it is one, when I applied with a fingertip, it was actually weaker than when I used a denser brush, which is something I don't typically see. The glitters are really beautiful considering they have a lot of glitter impact without having a ton of fallout. When you apply them with the fingertip, which is what I did, I really loved how opaque they were. They're super shiny. I have both of them on my lids today. It's very, very beautiful. And I had no complaints. A little bit of fallout, but not for something like these glitters should be when you actually feel them. Overall, this palette is actually kind of nice, but when it comes to colors, the inspiration behind the color story, this is where I kind of think it's nice if you don't have palettes similar to this. If you have Chameleon or other palettes with bright, kind of orangey reds, kind of those earthy tones with some purples, you don't need this one. But if you want a fun palette that has consistent Huda Beauty formulations, really nice for travel considering it's a 9-pan, very easy to travel with. It's small. I do think the consistency is there. So it's a winner if you want to check it out. Now let's talk about the next palette. This is also one that kind of, the quality is okay, but it's just kind of like yawn fest to me. I don't know why. This is the Breezy eyeshadow palette from Tarte, and I really like the packaging. The packaging reminds me of Tom Ford vibes with the white and the gold. Now it's not like a glossy white. It feels a little bit more smooth than a gloss, kind of like a light plastic coating maybe, but I see the outer packaging as Tom Ford vibes, personally. So when you actually open it up, it's actually a monster pan. All of these pans are huge. We do have some shimmers and we have some mattes in here, and we kind of have a cool design with 3 on top, 3 on bottom. They are massive XL panned shades. So compared to the other Tarte palettes that are out there, these are big, right? And I would say this is a consistent quality as well. So kind of like the Huda one is a little bit more interesting to me than this one. I think it's because we see a lot of Tarte coming out with palettes like this with the browns and the golds and the pinks, you know, pinky purples. I sort of thought like, this is just nice, maybe for someone that doesn't have a big Tarte collection, but it isn't one that I'm like super excited about again, that's like so unique, so excited about. It's just sort of nice. Has like the same consistent smell. You know how Tarte has like a slight sweet smell to their eyeshadows, almost like vanilla-y? Kind of like that. I see this for someone that just wants their basics. Just their basics covered with the shadows they wear probably all of the time in one place, and you don't have to repurchase the same palette all the time. That's kind of what I'm thinking with this one. That's who would suit this one best. I want to talk about the RMS Beauty Primer next. This is actually a really interesting primer. It has the same packaging as the foundation. So the foundation I actually tested not that long ago. Not super impressed with this one. It's kind of like an okay product to me. But when you pair them together, it actually makes this one a little bit better to tolerate. And I was kind of wondering about that, if you wanted to have a hydrating base underneath this one, because this one did cling a little bit for me, and a hydrated base does help with this foundation, as does this primer. So if you do happen to own both of them, you'll probably have a lovely experience. The hydrating primer is nice, but I think it's kind of basic. I don't think that it's something that we all need. I do think it's dependable. I think it's very nice and kind of like a little bit hydrating on the skin. Nothing too crazy where it plumps up the skin and makes you look super supple, but it's just like a little bit. It is a light pink color, you can see. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm a lot of bruised right there. Sorry about that on my hand. But you can see that it's got like a nice glow to it. So it is really beautiful with that regard. And a slight smell, but nothing perfumey, just like almost like a lotiony kind of smell. And it does seem to sit on my skin really beautifully. It does do a nice job moisturizing, a nice job prepping, but I wouldn't say it like blows me away when it comes to other hydrating primers. I do like other primers better. This is just one that's kind of like that nice, consistent, probably good for beginners, nothing crazy that you need, you know. You can't really revive skin too much with this. It gives you that little bit of hydrating power, but it's actually not too bad. Now I really have to talk about these two products because I've been hunting these down. You know me, I am a luxury high-end girl at heart. I love luxury and high-end makeup. It's my favorite, love the experience, love learning about it. But you guys kept telling me that this is a dupe for my fave Hollywood Flawless Filter. And I'm like, okay, are you sure? There have been lots of drugstore products that have claimed to be dupes over the years. Some are pretty close, some have failed, but is this one good? I finally hunted these down at Shoppers Drug Mart. If you are in Canada, they have been sold out for a long time. It's impossible to get. I guess people are going crazy for these. When it comes to how similar they are, I mean, first of all, look at the packaging. Like, more bougie on the Charlotte side for sure, but this is very similar. I was kind of like, how can e.l.f. do that? Like, how can they be that similar for a duplicate? But whatever, I guess they're doing what they want. So this one also has a doe foot, like the e.l.f. one, as does the Charlotte Tilbury. Right off the bat, I can tell you that the e.l.f. one has a bit of a deeper doe foot applicator compared to the Charlotte one, which is a little bit flatter. So you're actually getting a lot more product in one swipe with the e.l.f. one. You'll see, because some people have said that the Flawless Filter is like thinner or something. Do you see how there's more opacity on the e.l.f. side? It's actually going to the applicator. The applicator has a lot more room to pull a lot more of that product up compared to the Hollywood Flawless Filter that's a little bit flatter. So you're getting a little bit less overall when you're applying it on one stroke. This to me is very close. You do get a lot more opacity out of the e.l.f. one right away. So I feel like you have to apply less in order to get the same amount of product on your skin that you would from the Charlotte one. You'll see that it's still quite pigment forward versus the Charlotte. So the Charlotte has more of a like glow forward, but slight, compared to the e.l.f. one, which is more pigment forward. Both of them work beautifully as a base, I will say. I do think the Charlotte one, for me, when it comes to using them as primer, because you're going to put foundation over top of them, I can see very little difference between them. I can only see a little bit more of a strength with the Charlotte one when you're highlighting high points of the cheek, because that glow pops through a little bit more than the pigment underneath it. Let's talk about our very first fail, shall we? This is like heartbreaking. I did get this in PR, and I do want to thank Benefit Canada for sending that over to test out for me, but this one is a miss I had to share. This is the Bad Gal Bang Waterproof Mascara. If you've seen my TikTok and my Instagram, I've already talked about this being a fail for me. This is the waterproof version of the Bad Gal Bang, like OG mascara, which I love. This one is a 10 out of 10. I'm actually wearing it today. It's amazing. This one, not so much. It's kind of like, yay, boo. Like, it's like, I can't believe just whatever they did to make this formula waterproof, for whatever reason, completely changed my experience with it. This one makes my lashes so wet. They stick together so easily, and then once they do, it is very hard to remove. I've tried everything. Plain water, makeup remover, more gentle formulations, holding it and pressing. None would work. This one clings to your lashes for dear life, like it's hanging on the back of a boat and it's not going to let go. This one, I think I lost like 5 lashes with this, like rest in peace, as I was removing it, and I'm like, this is so sad. I don't even want to wear this again. So unfortunately, whatever they did to make it waterproof completely ruined it for me. Get the OG. This one still stays. I mean, it's not waterproof, I guess, but I don't flake with it. It doesn't like fade or fall over the place. It's amazing. I don't know. It separates, it lengthens, has a gorgeous, gorgeous look to the lash. Like not a ton of pigment or anything, not too wet. Oh, it's good. Get the OG, skip the waterproof. Let's talk about some new concealers. We do have one from Too Faced you guys asked me to review, so I'm going to be reviewing this one next. It's the Born This Way Ethereal Light Illuminating Smoothing Concealer. This one is supposed to be, the shade I have, by the way, is Buttercup. It's a little bit on the peachy side of things, and this one's nice. I actually really like it. It's kind of like a medium coverage. It is buildable, but not to a full, I would say. Medium to full is probably what you'll get. And this one layers under my under eye area really nicely. I actually really like it. Offers a little bit of a glow because there's a teeny bit of a glow component to it. It also covers acne really nicely, but I wouldn't say it's a full coverage. So if you're looking for a full coverage concealer, one that's going to cover extreme redness, I don't think this will be it. You'll probably need something underneath it to color correct first and then layer over top with this. It's nice. I'm like, not gonna lie, this is pretty nice. So for those wondering if this is a hit, it is really lovely. But the Fail concealer, which I tried months ago I picked this up, tried and tried. The Saie concealer, guys, this one hurts me so much to say because Saie is actually a nice brand. It's very minimalistic, you know, lots of multi-purpose products. This one, for the life of me, would not stay on my face at all. It kept breaking apart. It looked awful under the eyes. I did find shade matching this one really tough. It was actually one that I was like, I don't know, it's just very, very difficult. It's also extremely light coverage. So I'll show you what I mean. It has a little bit of a glow to it, but it's really light. See? Kind of like, you know, it's got that nice glow to it, right? But it's light coverage and buildable by very little. We're not even going to a medium with this one. It's kind of stays at light. Too Faced is on the left. Right? It's interesting because that's just that subtle difference between them is enough to make a huge difference between a hit and a miss. Although the opacity is not the deal breaker for the Saie concealer, the actual reason for this being a fail, because people use light coverage concealer all the time, if that's what they want to do. But the reason why this is a fail is because it breaks down so quickly, like on the face, regardless of where it is. If it's like a high traffic zone with my eyes, I call it high traffic because I'm very animated as a person. And so I'm like, I'm squinting or I'm, you know, going like this a lot. Like there's lots of movement there, right? And if that's gonna break apart in a high traffic zone, okay. But what about my chin that barely moves, right? During the day when, I mean, you're talking, but like right here doesn't move that much. And it kept breaking apart on me, and very quickly, within like 4 or 5 hours. So not even very long. This one's unfortunately a fail. Also, finding your shade is very tough, but the Too Faced one is nice. Let's go through a couple more Tarte products. The first one being this trio. This is one I'm going to call a solid okay. It's not something I'm going to recommend, however, because all three of them do not perform the same. So we do have this lovely, beautiful, look at that, rose gold ultra reflective packaging with the leaves, the palm leaves. So nice, so relaxing, reminds me of the beach. This is the Clay Play to Go, cheek palette. There are 3 shades in here. One is called Morning Light. It's the highlight. Then we have the beautiful blush and we have the bronzer. And the bronzer isn't too bad here. Lots of blendability, lots of nice color with this one. It's not too orangey or anything, which I appreciate. The blush is very glowy. So this one here, you might think you'll see a lot of that peachy pink pigment underneath, but you actually don't. There's a lot of highlight to it because it's quite shimmery as well. So it's kind of that nice glowy blush look. I'm trying to find that Givenchy blush, by the way. I keep getting so many questions like, where's that blush from Givenchy? It's sold out. I'm going to try to find it though, so no worries. But I think that's kind of a similar vibe to this. It has a little bit less of that pinky pigment and a lot more glow behind it. So this is actually nice. But the highlight is what disappointed me. It's actually quite like glitter heavy on the skin. And that's what I really, unfortunately, wish didn't happen. When you actually swatch it, it's pretty strong. It's got a little bit of a champagne undertone to it. So it's interesting, right? Because when you swatch something, you don't get that same opacity on the cheek, right? It's a little bit on the lighter side when you're applying it on the cheek. But these are the other 2 here. It's very beautiful. So with a swatch, yes, great, right? But with that highlight, it's a little bit too glittery, like particle looking on the cheek. The glitters are just a little bit too present. And for me, I wish it blended a little bit more into my skin. Okay, we have another disappointing product. Oh, this is so sad. Oh, before I get to that, a nice one. Let's go to the nice one first. Maracuja Juicy Glow from Tarte. This is a nice one. Same packaging style as the Maracuja Juicy Lip Plumpers and Glosses. You do have to press it up. So this is called Pearlescent Glow. Really, really beautiful. I would call this one more on the subtle side of things. If you like frosted highlights, you will like this one. But I'll show you what it looks like on the skin. Absolutely beautiful. So it's kind of like that. Do you see how there's a lot more frosted to this one? Not as like a little bit of a glow, but more frosted. And this one is actually on my cheeks today. You apply very little to get what you are after, because then you're going to have that frostiness come through and it's going to look obvious. But this one's more on the softer side when it comes to highlights. It's more for my gals that want something natural, that don't want something too blingy, like too much in your face. So this is a lovely one. For that purpose, I love the lightweight consistency of it. It's very, very concentrated with pigment. You brush some on the cheek, you know, go with your hands or with a brush, and it's got that really nice glow, but no particle looking things like in that palette. Now let's get to the heartbreaking product. The new one from Beautyblender. I actually looked at the reviews for this bad boy because I was kind of like, what do other people say? Other people love this. So I was like, what am I missing here? When I test something out, I try to be unbiased. I don't look at the other reviews right away. I kind of do my own thoughts, and then sometimes I'm curious and I just look over at the Sephora app, right? This is a lovely consistency. It's very, what's the word? Creamy. Very easy to blend out, but the color of this doesn't look good on my skin. I don't know what it is. I'll show you on my hand. It's almost too creamy, like it can melt very, very easily on the hand. When you press it in, it's like it just, there's almost no solid backbone to this. It's quite creamy, kind of like when your ice cream is just about to melt, right? That's kind of what this reminds me of. You'd think this would be a nice color based on the swatch. It's not too orange, but for some reason how it's translating on the skin, it just looks a little bit odd. So this is also one that has the tendency to, because it's so easy to blend, you got to be careful that it could blend kind of outside of where you want it to go, if that makes sense. You know, when you're kind of carving out your cheeks and you want just a little bit of a bronzy look, I find this one, because of how creamy it is and how it just like dissipates, it can go quickly everywhere else. So this is kind of like very carefully placed product. So this one's kind of like disappointing to me because not only is it so creamy where there's like if you press down, you can go until you hit the bottom. It's so milky almost. This is the highlight. So the highlight is called Champagne and the bronzer is called Topaz. This is the highlight. Very like putty almost. It's got a thick, creamy consistency to it. So compared to the bronzer, which is like almost too melty, this one is actually quite like clay almost. And you can see this one's really beautiful too. Little bit on the subtle side as well, but this one is just okay. The consistency of this formula is very putty, and it's kind of unique in the market. I haven't seen too many highlights like this, but I did find when I applied it on the skin that it was sort of heavy on my skin, and the glow wasn't popping out as much as I would like. It was more on the subtle side, but also felt heavy. So if you want a subtle highlight, that's fine, but the feeling on the skin felt like there was quite a bit laying on top of it. I'm gonna keep trying to make this one work because of course I spent my money on it and I don't wanna waste anything. I don't know, but for some reason the way it's pulling on my skin right now, maybe it's this foundation, how it's meshing together. I don't know, this color is not my favorite. It's just disappointing. Last but not least, let's talk about these Christian Dior lipsticks that I'm hearing tons about online. This is the Rouge Dior Forever lipsticks. They are called the first transfer-proof lipstick that ain't a liquid lipstick, which I'm like, sign me up. You guys know transfer proof, awesome. But from a liquid lipstick, I don't like liquid lipsticks very much. There's very few that I like that I'm like, hey, I can tolerate it. This is the lipstick I'm wearing right now. It's the Dior one. It's great. And I'm gonna tell you a couple of tips to make it work the best. So I have two shades here. First of all, the packaging is kind of like a matte black. Really beautiful. They're in Sephora stores, not just online, so take a look at the store if you want for stock. The shades I picked up are 200 Forever Nude Touch and 505 Forever Sensual. Nude Touch will be first. These are very thin. Look at the two. Beautiful. Nude Touch, Nude Sensual on the right. Very, very stunning. According to Dior, these are matte finishes, which I do believe they are, but they do have quite a creamy slip to them. So even though they're matte, they're really comfortable, which is what I'm all about. And it says here that they're ultra pigmented. They're kind of like a lipstick slash lipstick stain. They're not a liquid lipstick and they're not, but this is how you use them best. So you can actually line your lips or you don't have to, and you have to let this set for a good 5 minutes before it is completely transfer proof. Even at about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, it's the same thing. It's starting to get a little bit more set. I can feel that, but it's not fully set down. As soon as you have a full 5 minutes pass, I find then they set. And they set perfectly. There's no transfer at all. When you apply it, it's quite creamy, has a bit of a slip, and then you actually have your set happen, right? When it sets, I do find that as it wears, like as the hours go by, it will start to feel a tad tight, just a little bit, but not at all like a liquid lipstick does. And it doesn't make your lips look so dried out and pruny like a liquid lipstick. So this is a really good step in the right direction, which is why I love these. To make them transfer proof, they have to kind of eventually dry down. I would prefer a little bit more slip throughout the day, but then that's going to result in the transfer happening, right? So to have a full transfer proof, it has to be very dry, and it's actually feeling quite comfortable for that quality in the lipstick. You can layer over it. Hallelujah. That is amazing. So this is a good one, you guys. If you want to try a transfer proof product that is 100% transfer proof and not uncomfortable when it's fully set, wow. Very, very impressed with these. Definitely check them out if you are interested. I have been a big fan. Hopefully all these reviews were helpful for you guys. Until my next one, I hope you have a pleasant day. Don't forget to subscribe if you are into high-end and luxury reviews, and we'll chat soon. Bye, guys.